On this week's episode, will a star being born be stricken with some venom? What to look forward to this weekend in the UFC? And is this truly the end for Captain America? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. He is the lead. He is the biggest fan for the Golden Girls and also the leading man when it comes to Humanica Media. You got to check out everything that's going on with Humanica Media today at humanicamedia.com, Humanica Media on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and so much more. It is the man with the plan when it comes to Humanica Media. It is Josh Peterson. Golden Girls are back and always with you, my friend.
I know. It's just a great t-shirt. You know, they were ahead of their time. They really were. And people just don't appreciate it these days.
I'm sure they do in reruns somewhere in some other country, maybe even ours. We never know. You never know. I'm sure they still get. I'm sure their production company still gets residuals at some point in time from somewhere, from someplace. But it is going to be another great episode of the PCC Multiverse. We've got on tap for you today AJ Attulo from That Sports Card Show and the Ohio Combat Sports Academy. He is stopping by to talk about this weekend's big fight in the UFC. Khabib, and don't even ask me to say his last name because pretty much no one else is. It is just so long and just so hard to pronounce. He faces off against Conor McGregor. That's going to be a big time matchup this weekend for the lightweight championship for UFC. He's going to tell us. AJ is going to break down the fight and tell us what to look forward to. Should Conor be the favorite? Should Khabib the Eagle? Who has the advantage on the ground? What kind of strategies should they employ in as far as exactly in the fight? And also, who does he think will come out on top? And when? Is it going to be by knockout? Is it going to be by decision? He's going to share that information and more on today's episode. Plus, we've also got Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pater podcast. He's going to preview Week 5 in the NFL. And Josh and I are going to be talking about on the back end about a lot of good stuff, including the official name for the Star Wars series and what that all means. And also, should you hold off? Should you hold off on buying a Nintendo Switch this holiday? Because some stuff came out recently that might have your attention when it comes to buying a Switch this holiday season. And also as well, and is it time for us to say goodbye to Captain America? Because for Chris Evans, it might just be. And we'll talk about the legacy, the possibility of that happening, and if we actually believe it is truly going to be the end of Captain America later on in the show. But first off, my friend, it is going to be, I think, a closer battle than what a lot of people are expecting this weekend in the box office, as A Star is Born with Lady Gaga, and Lady Gaga debuts this weekend, and it faces off against something you and I have talked about now for several months, and that is Venom. Your thoughts on this weekend in the box office? And we'll start off with Venom, which actually is going to be getting, it's projected to get domestically around $60 million per se, and about $150 to $175, $150 to $175 million worldwide in its opening weekend. Star is Born with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, it looks to be doing about $30 million here in the States. But first off, we'll focus on Venom. Your thoughts on Venom? And quite frankly, there's been some venomous reviews for this movie so far. something which was not unexpected by us here on the show, and something that was probably not unexpected for a lot of people out there. How do you think that's going to affect the movie this weekend and also long term?
I am actually I want to see A Star Is Born far more than I want to see Venom.
And that's why I brought it up, because a lot of people are changing their minds and going in that direction, because all the momentum in the past month has shifted towards A Star Is Born and away from Venom. And it now looks like, well, if you ask me, it could be a toss up long term domestically. I'm not talking about worldwide numbers. Long term domestically here in the United States, that A Star Is Born could have a lot more lasting power than Venom.
Yeah, also I think A Star Is Born has the advantage of possibly being a shoot, I'm having such a brain fart. The Oscars? No.
Yeah, the Oscars. It's got a lot of Oscar buzz going on,
Yeah.
a lot of talk about Bradley Cooper and also Lady Gaga getting some high mention. Maybe not from an acting sense, although that is in there too, but also from a musical standpoint, even though this is the fourth iteration, or excuse me, the fourth rendition. Well, actually, yeah, the fourth rendition of A Star Is Born. There's been three other. This is the third remake of it. This still looks like it's going to be a very good chance that it might be. It might have its name called upon early next year when it comes to the Oscars.
See, I didn't know that it was a remake, so that's interesting to me.
Yeah, A Star Is Born's been remade 3 different times, so it's actually the fourth iteration of Star Is Born. The last time, I believe, was the Barbra Streisand, Chris Christopherson movie, but maybe I'm not sure, 100% sure on that one.
That's crazy. I honestly had no idea. No, I was gonna say though, like there are a lot of music movies. I guess was Crazy Heart with Jeff Bridges. Anne Hathaway's got one on Amazon Prime that's not bad, called Song One. It's a very formulaic like genre of film, but still people like them, and like I personally, I haven't gotten tired of them yet. So I do enjoy watching them, which brings me to my next point is that if I got to choose between A Star Is Born and Venom, I'd probably go see A Star Is Born. Um, yeah, so you're talking about the reviews with Venom, and they are like all over the place. They can't make up their mind. And the thing that people like about the movie is not necessarily flattering, though. It's like they like the way that it's bad in a good way. Like that's all I can think to when people are describing it, is like it's not as bad as I thought, but that's not really good though. Still. And it's I don't know. I just when Spider-Man came out, Spider-Man movies, for example, they have this hype level, and I'm always excited to go see them. But with this movie, I could honestly care less. Like I could not see it in theaters and be perfectly fine with it. And that's what kind of makes me sad about this, is that they're kind of Sony is burying themselves. And yeah, I don't know, man. How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm just very sad that this actually, they didn't actually hear a lot of what was being said about it. They didn't actually listen to our shows in the past, and I'm talking about Sony, that ever since that first trailer came out, you and I had our trepidations in regards to Venom. We both thought that it was not going down the right path. And I don't know where you're hearing positive reviews, my friend, because the highest grade I've seen, and I haven't looked at Metacritic and I haven't looked at Rotten Tomatoes yet, but I know from my viewing, as far as all the reviews that I've seen about 4 or 5. They've all been substandard, which I think 5.5 out of 10, I think was the highest I've seen so far.
Well, the good reviews that I'm reading, they're not good reviews though. They're good. They're like outlining the stuff about the movie that they thought were going to be horrible, but weren't as bad as they thought, but still not good. So they're not like positive reviews. They're just positive in a non-negative kind of positive way, I guess, if that makes
Well,
sense.
I'm taking 3 things from it myself. First off, they think the only thing that's of redeeming value is the symbiotic relationship between Tom Hardy and Venom himself. Number 2 is that they also say that there are points in time where it is very funny, but these reviewers are not sure if those scenes that they're laughing at hysterically are actually supposed to be hysterical moments in the film. And number three, the villain and the corporation, as far as whenever it shifts towards them, the movie takes a big time downturn. And I've seen that across the board, that that's actually one of the greatest weaknesses in the movie is in regards to that. And actually, number four, they say the actual romance between Michelle Williams and Tom Hardy, that has zero chemistry and really falls flat on the screen.
That doesn't surprise me. It They didn't really highlight that much in the trailers. It was more just action sequences and uh just watching with horrified eyes as the symbiote takes over the people inside the glass boxes or whatever. I don't know, like, I wanted to say originally that they did it, right now they're doing, like, a decent job of marketing it, even though it's not getting great reviews, because I've been reading these things where Tom Hardy's going to movie theaters and talking with fans, and, from what I understand, he's, like, one of the only good things about that movie, and even, like, that people are upset that he's still upset that such a high caliber actor stoops so low to be in something like this.
Well, his son is a big fan of Venom, and that was the primary motivation in him. That was the primary motivation in him taking upon the role of Venom. But I told you from the get go that when he was in reporter mode, that seemed totally out of place as far as his accent in San Francisco. It just seemed all out of place as far as what was going on in the context of that. I I know a lot of people give a lot of slack to the previous iteration of Venom on screen, but be that as it may, I kind of liked the way it was generated on screen, with the on screen jealousy towards Peter Parker generating into something more when it came to Venom, and also how it intertwined with all the things with J. Jonah Jameson and all that. I just kind of liked how that materialized and how Venom incorporated himself into that jealousy that was there. I don't see any of that, and this just seems to be like a standard formulaic uh, villainy, as far as the corporation building something, or creating something, or discovering something and trying to incorporate it into human testing, and of course it only works with Tom Hardy and Tom Hardy's character, and it just doesn't seem to work out. It makes me upset that they didn't incorporate at all Spider-Man or the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all, and are trying to keep it separate. And I think that was also a big mistake, and that's going to lead to lower numbers overall. That's going to lead to lower numbers overall long term for the movie. And I think after a decent opening weekend, I think it's going to fall flat very soon.
No, I agree, and it's you watch the trailers and you read the reviews, and it kind of feels to me like the story and the larger, trying to connect it to Spider-Man was an afterthought in this movie. That it seems like they're more concerned with like the action sequences and the set pieces and the explosions and the fighting and the just the sheer madness of it all, instead of trying to create a coherent story that has depth and emotion to it, which is possible, as we've seen with the MCU. Sony just missed the marker, it seems.
It looks like it, and their reluctance to incorporate Venom at all into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or even really combine it with the Spider-Man and have Spider-Man involved in some form or fashion, kind of takes away from it as well. And it just seems like after a little while, it's going to be a movie that really no one will care about, and not only will damage Venom long term with all the bad and tepid reviews that it's gotten already, it's also going to hurt any of these other Sinister Six movies that they've talked about, or Craven the Hunter, or any of these other Silver Sable, or any of these other side stories that they wanted to go ahead and say in the Spider-Man universe, that they're probably not going to be able to tell unless they actually appear on screen in a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I would not want to see a Sinister Six movie without Spider-Man, because that's what makes the story great. Like, that's he's it's the first time in the comic books he seemed completely overwhelmed, and that's kind of what gives that story its oomph. But I'm not a huge fan. I'd never liked the idea of Sony spinning off its own Spider-Man universes minus Spider-Man. That's it. All it is, it's a cash grab. They want money. They want to try to do what everyone else is doing, and they're just not good at it because from the interviews I saw with Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige, like he's not too thrilled about it. He seems to me like he would rather it not happen.
I don't blame him a bit after seeing the results of Venom and how I think long term it's really not going to be that successful. I think it will do okay overseas for a little while, but I think it will die. I think it will die a quick death once the other holiday movies come out, which is going to be very disappointing for those that are big fans of Venom, big fans of Spider-Man, and hoping for some type of universe that's central to Spider-Man and the characters that support him. So unfortunately, that's not going to be the case this time around. One thing I did want to ask you is that I said in the beginning that I thought that over the long haul, not first weekend wise, but over the long haul, I think A Star is Born domestically will eventually outpace Venom. Star is Born looking like it's getting a lot of, like you said, Oscar rub, Oscar attention, maybe for the acting, but definitely for the music. It's something that obviously a lot of people are actually looking forward to. It's actually projecting out to be a $30 million plus weekend for A Star is Born. Your thoughts on A Star is Born, and do you think eventually long term that it will surpass Venom, giving it the ultimate haha and the ultimate, humiliation for Sony's Venom character?
I think the weekend will predict that. Like I said, these movies are all very formulaic, but the formula is good. So if people keep going to if word of mouth is good and people go to see it and people like it and it's got a pretty powerful cast, Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. So if people are liking it and it's one of those movies. What was that? Shoot, what was that? The Foreigner. Like that was one of those movies that like it didn't do very well each weekend, but over the weekends, like it made more and more money and eventually became something that was successful. So I think maybe that's what we're going to see with A Star Is Born.
Well, I think it'll have a better hold in its second weekend, and by the time you see maybe 4 or 5 weeks down the line, you will start to see Venom really drop off, and you'll see A Star Is Born finally gain back that difference from that first weekend back as far as long haul. It's also the type of movie a lot of people will see during the week, so let's not forget that as well. And I think
Right.
that will lead to not only a domestic haul that will surpass Venom, but also a lot of surprising results as well for anyone that's a supporter of the film. When we thought originally that was going to be the case, I didn't think so. But now I'm really leaning on the side, eventually long term, that A Star is Born is looking a lot. The prospects for A Star is Born is looking a lot better at this point in time than for Venom.
Well, look at what I said earlier with Crazy Heart with Jeff Bridges. Like that was a movie that no one expected to do well, and it ended up, blowing people's socks off. So hold on, let me see what the box office numbers were for that Crazy Heart. So it made. No, hold on one second. Sorry. Okay, well, I mean, that's a bad example, I guess. So it only made 47.4 million, but it was still like it was a movie that no one thought was going to do well and ended up getting all this Oscar buzz. So I kind of see that happening with with
A Star is Born.
A Star is Born. So yeah, man, I think it's going to be one of those movies, people are going to go see it in the mornings. You have your senior citizens going to see it on the weekdays and stuff like that. And it maybe, who knows? It depends on how I need to see where Venom ends this weekend at, and then you can kind of predict it from there. But if I don't see Star is Born making, anything ridiculous, but it could. I think just the fact that it has Oscar buzz would make it something worth seeing over Venom in itself.
Well, this is true, and I think word of mouth is going to spread in the favor of A Star Is Born. And like I said, that first weekend, comic book fans are going to support it to the tune of maybe even double of what A Star Is Born is going to do in its first weekend domestically. But long term, you're going to see probably a big drop second weekend for Venom. And then after that, you're going to see A Star Is Born close the gap, especially on those weekend days, and eventually outpace, in my opinion, Venom when it comes to long term at the domestic box office. Worldwide, I still think Venom, because of the fact that it's a comic book movie leading with superheroes, well, anti-hero, anti-superheroes or whatever you want to call it, in regards to that type of comic book genre movie. I think that translates well. It translates a little bit better overseas, but I don't see the big returns for the movie at all. And I see this as probably, especially with something with a as high a budget as for Venom that it has, I see something that's not going to bode out well for the movie long term, and also not bode out well for the Spider-Verse as well. What are your thoughts on A Star Is Born and Venom? Do you think that these two movies will actually end up staying the way most project out for the first weekend, or do you think A Star Is Born will actually end up being more successful over the longer period of time? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. And then don't forget, that's why we want to hear your thoughts on Venom and A Star Is Born. Just send us your thoughts. You can send it through social media, email, what have you. We'd love to hear your thoughts on either or both movies as well. It's like I said, it's going to be a great show we have for you today. We've got AJ Otulo from That Sports Card Show and the Ohio Combat Sports Academy coming up next. He's going to be talking about this weekend's fight in the UFC between Khabib the Eagle and Conor McGregor. And then right after that, Tyler Baker previews Week 5 in the NFL. And after that, Josh and I will be back on the back end talking about a lot of good stuff when it comes to Captain America saying goodbye, possibly for the final time. Is that true? And also Star Wars, what's in the name when it comes to Mandalorian? And also, why should you maybe hold off on a Nintendo Switch this holiday? This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with a program to close out the show. This is Gerald Glassford, along with my good friend, Josh Peterson. Got to make sure and let you know we are on 7 days a week worldwide on internet. We are on 7 days a week on internet. We are on 7 days a week on radio stations worldwide and also on over 30 different podcast networks. For a listing of many of those options, check it out today on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just go to Pop Culture Cosmos and you'll see it right there. Josh, you've got a great thing going on with Humanity Media and a lot of great stuff going on there. What is truly going on with your awesome experience known as Humanity Media?
We just put a new episode of Topic Ocalypse out into the ether. Just one of those weird episodes, where you just sit around and catch up. We had a topic going, and then we had a bunch of rants happen, and the rants ended up taking up the podcast time. So we just called the episode Catching Up, and you can check it out now. You want to hear everyone's thoughts weighing in on politics and stuff like that, and what everyone's been up to in video games. And it's just a few dudes sitting around a table chatting it up. So definitely check it out. It's out there now, and we'll have a new episode ready for you guys on Sunday night.
Anything going on with Inside Sports?
No, I haven't received a new I didn't receive a new episode today, so I don't know.
I sent you footage.
Yeah, I know. Charles never sent me anything. I'll hit him up here in a minute.
Well, he was at the Braves game.
Well, he was supposed to have done it last night, but he never. Here, actually, Chris will respond to me. I'll hit up Chris.
Because that stuff doesn't stay fresh for long, especially with the fight this weekend.
If they don't send, I'll put the episode up tomorrow if they don't send me anything.
Okay, fair enough. Plus, it has him on it as well. The segment is with there's a segment with Tyler Baker and him on it as well. But Okay, I'll just cut this part out.
Okay,
The magic of audio editing.
fix it in post.
There you go. And don't forget, and don't forget, Attack of the Mannequins with Topicocalypse is on every week on the Podcast Radio Network every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Josh, I think we'll start off with some good news, which is the latest Star Wars television show that is on the way, that's being overseen by Jon Favreau himself. Obviously, the man behind Iron Man, as far as the man behind Iron Man's return to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, been such a part of that. Obviously, the Jungle Book as well, done so many great things. He's now heading up the Star Wars television series. The name was released this week to the entire world out there. So tell me, my friend, what's in the story when it comes to what's in the name when it comes to Mandalorian?
You know, I was out walking my dogs and I was trying to think about how I wanted to approach this topic, and I really just want to open with this. I'll be honest, man. I don't care about Star Wars anymore. it's it's sad, but they have just used up my good grace. And it's not just the episode 8 thing. It's I'm just burnt out. I don't care anymore. I'll watch the show just to see what's going on with it, but I'm not excited about it. And like the Mandalorian, I I'm intrigued. I know that George Lucas, before he sold to Disney, was working on a like what did the streets look like in Star Wars? You know, that whole like underground street crime syndicate scene. What does that look like? And I know it was going to center around Boba Fett, so maybe this is kind of the brainchild of George Lucas that we're going to be seeing here. But uh, I mean, in which case that does sound interesting, right? A more grittier side of that universe that we don't see often. But I guess it'd just be if all depend on if Disney didn't Disneyfy it, you know, if that makes sense.
Well, I will say this, that the first pictures of the set have been already released as well. And it is of, guess who? Boba Fett right there. So it is going to be something like that, dealing and detailing the underground of the Star Wars lore. The Mandalorians, according to what we're seeing on different outlets, what the they're the people from well they're actually it deals with the planet Mandalore in the science in the Star Wars universe. So it looks like you said, it was just going to be something where it deals with the grittier side, the underneath, the underground, maybe dealing with a lot of gangs, so a lot of intrigue and crime and stuff like that. And obviously, when you're dealing with Boba Fett as one of your main players, if not your main player, it's going to deal a lot with the heavy underside of the actual Star Wars universe and the Star Wars lore. Maybe even can see another rebirth or reimagining of Jabba the Hutt, because if it may be in that time zone, maybe in that time area. So hopefully it will deal with subjects that'll be intriguing and something that will follow. Maybe not be reliant on any Jedi or any battles between the Empire or the Rebellion, or dealing with that we're so used to seeing. This was something maybe a little bit grittier, a little bit darker. Elements of what we saw in Rogue One will be hopefully transposed here into this television series. And we're looking to get a different side of it when it comes to Star Wars: The Mandalorian on the planet Mandalore. So definitely looking forward to actually just giving it a shot and seeing if it's something that is going to hold our interest when it comes to another side of the Star Wars universe.
And on a plus side, looks like now we won't have to have that Boba Fett spin-off movie that everybody didn't want to see.
Well, I'm not going to say everybody didn't want to see it. I want to say we didn't want to see it primarily, but I know there was that vocal minority that just go gaga over anything Boba Fett that still are hoping for that. But I think this is probably what they're going to get instead.
It's the jetpack, I'm telling you.
It is a jetpack, but last time I heard, I think he's still digesting slowly over thousands of years, if I'm not mistaken. So
there's a weird like conspiracy that he escaped, or he was pooped out or something, or I don't know. People seem to think that he's not being digested anymore, though. So maybe he's not. Who knows?
Maybe the Sarlacc pit had too much to drink and puked him out. But I
And
know drinking's been a hot topic these days in the world, so let's not really go there. Also, that's on tap for pop culture is something I also want to talk about because rumors have been all over the internet when it comes to various reports from various video game outlets that there could possibly be an upgraded or an updated Nintendo Switch coming out early next year, possibly even halfway next year or sometime in 2019. These look like to be reliable sources because it's been more than one. What are your thoughts on an upgraded Nintendo Switch? Is it something that you were interested in, or is it something that people may want to hold off on getting because of the fact that if it is substantially better, maybe it will give them pause for buying a Nintendo Switch this holiday?
That's weird because I read a lot of articles and nobody knows what makes it better because there's faster download speeds, maybe better, you know, better wireless connection. I don't know because
They talked also about possibly even being a better screen.
yeah, the
Oh, think of it like the Vita. Remember the Vita came out, it was an OLED, but then they came out, it was really nice, whatnot, but they made some subtle changes and it wasn't necessarily for the better because it was actually a design that was a little bit cheaper, but in design, a little bit less expensive for Sony. And for owners of the Vita that want, or people that were interested in it, it really didn't work out as such. This looks like maybe it will be something a little bit better, but I don't know if it's going to increase the price or not.
because there's nothing, yeah, hopefully not, but there's not really anything about the current Switch that I'm unsatisfied with. The screen, yeah, when it's light outside, it's hard to see. Like when you go, sorry, when you go into Skyrim and you go into a dungeon, it's super hard to see anything in there. But that's really my only complaint. As for the rest of it, like everything works, everything's smooth. I don't have any moments like I do when I'm, on the Xbox or PlayStation where it freezes and I got to start everything over again. I haven't suffered from that yet, but I don't know. I really want to know what they could possibly do to the Switch that would make it better, I guess, without like because you can't really do like a slimmer Switch, which is the trend with consoles. So I don't know, man.
And if you make it substantially faster, or if you make it more, if you give it more RAM, or if you give it anything else, or even a higher res LED screen, OLED screen, that that possibly could lead into a higher price for individuals. And I'm not willing to pay more than 300 for it. And that to me is just where I draw the line is in regards to a Nintendo Switch, which I like the portability. I'm thinking about getting one, but with the resolution and what it does now, processor wise, I'm only going to pay a certain amount. And if it's only going to be a little bit better, or a little bit faster, a little bit more powerful, or a little bit more capable of handling whatever online service Nintendo wants to dish out on it, I'm not sure if I'm ready and willing to pay the difference on that. I think I'm just going to be just fine if I do decide to get a Nintendo Switch with the ones that are out already. But that's just me. I mean, is it something that maybe if you're advising someone to hold off on, maybe, or what do you think as far as the whole Nintendo Switch outlook for it? Because by the time it really gets underway, there could possibly be a new Xbox One or a new PlayStation 5 that's on the way as well.
Well, here's what I've been telling people too. Like everyone thinks that it's going to get a price drop. I don't see it getting a price drop anytime soon, but uh, I tell them I'm like, go get you can get a refurbished one now. I want to say for like 240 or something from I think it was GameStop I was looking at, but I would tell them to go get a refurbished one instead of buying whatever this new and improved Switch is, just because it, like I said, I don't have any issues with the Switch as of right now, and I I'd have to know more about what it is. Does it come with games on the hard drive? Are they selling us like a classic type bundle? Like, how is this going to work? And as for like the imminent release of the Xbox and the PlayStation, whatever their next iterations are, I the Switch is a Switch, man. It's kind of a whole other animal here because of the portability of it, and that's what makes it so great. Is that it they can literally like do no wrong in the eyes of the fans right now, with the exception of uh making games that can't quite that can't be processed by the Switch, I guess, and you're stuck with lag and all that stuff. But right now, they're kind of ahead of the game. So whatever it is they have to offer, I'm curious about it, but I'm not going to tell people not to buy the other one if it's cheaper, I guess.
To me, like I said, is it going to be that discernible of difference as far as quality or speed or performance than what we currently have on the market? I don't believe it will be unless they're really going to jack up the price. And if that's the case, I don't even want to pay 350 for it. And I don't think they're going to lower very much, if at all, on the one that's currently out, because from what I've told you already, and from what I've been able to anticipate and what I've analyzed as far as the marketplace is concerned this holiday, I still think the Nintendo Switch is going to be the number one selling unit across the board when it comes to the video game marketplace this holiday. So it's not in their best interest to go ahead if you're Nintendo and lower the price on it, even if you've got a new and improved one that's on the way, which leads me to believe it could very well possibly be a $300 unit that we have now and a 350 unit going forward. And that kind of scares me. Or they just could be phasing out this one and could be bringing in another. So it's a little bit of a different feel like that. I personally probably will not wait if I'm given the opportunity. If there's a great trade-in value again that's offered by GameStop, I'm seriously going to think about it. So and you know, during the holiday season, are you really going to wait on the prospects of a possible new one? Nintendo is not going to go ahead and announce a new one most likely until after the new year, because they don't want to go ahead and have people hold off on buying a Nintendo Switch this holiday season. They want to be able to sell as many units as possible. So even if there is a new Nintendo Switch on the way, which I believe there is, it probably to me won't be that much of a jump or that much of a leap to make me want to wait. And if I'm going to go ahead and buy it, I might as well go ahead and buy it right now. There might actually be some good holiday deals going forward. And I like your thoughts when it comes to a refurbished one as well.
Right. It's just not really in anybody's best interest to, make something that's going to outshine what's already out, especially this close to the holiday season.
Definitely. And that's correct. And I cannot agree with you more on that. And it looks like that even though there is another one in the distance when it comes to a new unit, that a revamped unit for the Nintendo Switch, I still think it's probably in your best interest now to go and look for deals right now on the Nintendo Switch or for this holiday season. What are your thoughts on both the Nintendo Switch possibly getting a new model for 2019 and also as well Star Wars, the new series called The Mandalorian, based off the gritty underworld in on the planet of Mandalore? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. Well, Josh, I want to end the show on a kind of a bummer note for us, man. With Avengers 4 coming up, Chris Evans recently tweeted out that he is done, because he thought he was done before with any reshoots for Avengers 4. He said officially he's done for all the reshoots for Avengers 4 and anything else that they needed for it. And has said in the past, and was kind of alluding to it in this latest tweet, that this could be it, and alluded to it that this could be it for, or this will most likely be it for his character, for him in this character, as far as Captain America is concerned. How sad is it for you when you heard those words and the likelihood of Captain America, Chris Evans' version, mind you, not being an integral part of the MCU going forward after Avengers 4?
I read all this stuff and I've been seeing all the speculation, and I think that they should not have allowed him to make a tweet like that, because not only is it fueling speculation that Captain America dies in Avengers 4, it's kind of which it is, and it's kind of going, it makes it feels like it's going into spoiler territory a little bit, wouldn't you say?
Well, he's had this conversation before. I remember that famous interview he did with Good Morning America. We had the mustache, didn't have the full beard going on, but he had the mustache going on, and he said that his contract is finito after Avengers 4. And I think he also did something with either the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. He said, he needs to know, he knows what time to get off the MCU train before he's pushed off. I think it was, I'm just paraphrasing, mind you, but the idea was that he wants to get out while he is still favorable to audiences and not overstay his welcome. And I get that and I understand, but I don't think he's even close to being done with the series as far as from a fan's perspective. I know virtually everybody appreciates him in his character, and I think he's embodied the spirit of Captain America much better than anyone has ever thought it was going to be the case. He also joked that he could come back as the Human Torch if they reboot the Fantastic Four. I thought that was kind of funny that he was going to reboot himself as Johnny Blaze. But that, be that as it may, it is going to be still a very sad time when he finally hangs it up. But yeah, all roads, man, are leading towards to and all pointing towards to a ending for not only him but Robert Downey Jr. as well as Iron Man.
Yeah, it's sad. It's the end of an era. Kevin Feige has specifically stated, though, that the next era of Marvel films is going to be female centered. So, I just don't see like two powerhouse male actors existing in that fold very well, if that makes sense. I know Doctor Strange will be in there for sure, but uh, new blood, man. People want. You can only show the same characters for so long. It'd be cool to maybe bring them back in some fashion later on, but uh, it is sad. But at the same time, it seemed more like an inevitability than anything else.
I was hoping for something like a Nick Fury type role because I love Nick Fury in his role being that overarching mentor throughout the entire series, to be like that conscious that shows up at the right time to bounce off of. And I was hoping that Chris Evans, Captain America character, Steve Rogers character, would actually evolve into something like that long term as he grows older. He would actually still be relied upon as that source of knowledge and experience. And maybe you could still have Sebastian Stan be the everyday Captain America, or Sam Wilson be the everyday, or Anthony Mackie be that get into the role of Captain America, because their characters in the comic books have played that role. But at this point in time, we're not sure what the long-term goal is for. Well, that's what I mean. Either or, it doesn't matter. Either or, either Winter Soldier or Falcon playing that role of Captain America. I understand Winter Soldier played it first and then Falcon after that, but Kevin Feige has pulled the trigger on different deviating things from the comic books to make that he thinks makes more sense for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I just think at this point in time, it's really not a enthusiastic as much as I hope to, as much as I'm excited to see Avengers 4. I'm still sad thinking that this will probably be the last turn for Iron Man and Captain America.
Yeah, oh for sure. It is sad, man, because we kind of in a way grew up with these characters. Or, I was in high school, I want to say, when the first Iron Man came out. So yeah, it's definitely a sad goodbye. Just in the same way that like one graduates high school and goes on to college, it's just new things are around the bend. Maybe they're better, who knows? But you always look back on these his previous Marvel films with fondness. It's and then when nostalgia kicks in, you just go back and watch them again.
I guess so, man. I guess so. What are your thoughts out there on Captain America and Chris Evans departing from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if it should come to pass? Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Plus also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. And speaking of Game Source, coming up soon, we will have episodes. Jamie Monroy and his crew have already started recording episodes of the Game Source podcast. Going to see if we can actually start putting those out there in the next few days. So look forward to that, and look forward to more great things from the Pop Culture Cosmos pop culture cosmos universe as well. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.